Past people I've worked with in different capacities: Sanchez, Rivera, some of the classic house. Been helping Kenny Dope with some stuff recently from Masters at Work. And I think it's such a kind of spiritual home of electronic music, house music. There's just something about just landing here and coming out of the airport. And
that's the magic. It's called the magic, yeah.
When I started in the business, I was working for Virgin Records, doing club promotions. And one of the first jobs I had to do was to stamp the test pressings of Daft Punk Homework.
Welcome to the Ibiza Hall of Fame podcast with myself, Clara, and Big Al. We are at the IMS and we have a special edition. We're going to deep dive into the music industry and explore the music behind the scenes. We have a special guest with us, a music manager, and we like to invite him into the Ibiza Hall of Fame. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too. Good to meet you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So what we're doing today, Aaron, is we're telling the viewers is what you guys do behind the scenes to make this whole industry work. You know, so a lot of the public won't know what you guys do.
Sure.
So we're at the IMS to let the people know what the IMS is. It's the Ibiza Music Summit. It's a conference for the industry, and all you guys turn up for these industry summits. And this is a particularly good one, isn't it?
It is. It is, and I think it's such a kind of spiritual home of electronic music, house music, that there's just something about just landing here and coming out of the airport and seeing people that, it is. You can't really explain it if you haven't experienced it. Well, you can, but you don't. You know, it's not the same.
It's hard to explain.
But it's hard to explain, exactly. But yeah, I've been coming a long time, and it's just never lost any magic for me. It's obviously changed, and everything changes, but it's still got the magic. Yeah. And it's still got those amazing times, and it's often just about the people you share those times with that makes it special, and the music, of course. And the music's in an amazing place right now.
So the reason for this interview today is to ask you, what do you do? What is your job?
Of course. So now I'm a manager, and manager is a very broad role within the music industry. Because as a manager, you are involved in every facet of an artist's career, of an artist's day-to-day business, sometimes their life beyond business. So in any one day you could be dealing with a contract, you could be dealing with organising a photo shoot, giving A&R feedback on a track that an artist has made, negotiating deals, accompanying promo shoots. So it's a really fun role because you're always doing something different, and you can always flip between different things that just keeps a creative brain
do you love your
active
job?
And excited. Yeah, I love it. I do.
Fantastic.
I love it.
Yeah, that's important, I think, in life to really enjoy what you do.
So important.
So acts, artists, who have you worked with?
So, I mean, right now the roster who we're managing. So Jonas Blue is the biggest act on the roster, and he's someone that I've worked with.
He has a residency this year.
He has a residency this year. Yeah, he's doing High, the club room. It's a brand new event brand that we've launched called Sanchez, and that's every Wednesday, August and September. I've worked with him a long time. I've worked with him since 2008 when I was an A&R at Defected, and I signed him to Defected. And then 2012, we both kind of left Defected, and I set up the management company, and he left to expand what he was doing musically, let's say. But we also manage a few different acts. Audio Bullys, they're an act on the roster. Some of the newer acts, Paisley Jensen, a DJ who's doing incredibly well. She's got a bunch of shows in Ibiza this summer. And Melon Bomb, who are Ibiza residents. They're guys that we manage who've built up an amazing brand, an amazing party. Residents at Pikes just announced Universe every Sunday with Carl Cox. So they got a great summer ahead. And yeah, lots of other acts, TCTS Chaney. We got a big roster, a big team. And
past people
Past people I've worked with in different capacities: Sanchez, Rivera, some of the classic house. Been helping Kenny Dope with some stuff recently from Masters at Work. But when I started in the business, 1997, I was working for Virgin Records, doing club promotions. And one of the first jobs I had to do was to stamp the test pressings of Daft Punk Homework. So I had the Daft Punk logo, and I was stamping the test pressings. Yeah. And that was just looking back at it now, at the time I was like, the level of kind of poignancy around Daft Punk wasn't at that level it has become over the years, but we knew it was exciting, and that period there's a lot of exciting music coming out of Virgin France that we were working on, and I was just really lucky to be in that position, to be around great people and great music. And I was mentored by a woman called Caroline Prothero. Caroline brought me into Virgin and mentored me and taught me about club promotions, taught me about promoting records, which was what I started doing in the industry, promoting records to DJs.
Yeah.
And back then it was pre-email, pre-MP3. So it was just pre-email, it was kind of around, but it wasn't really used widely. So I would send out vinyl every week. I'd send out about 1,800 12 inches to DJs on the Thursday or whenever it was, in the mail, in the post, putting vinyl in mailers, paper cuts.
I've gone through that with the promotions, so I know exactly.
I try to explain to people now, and it's like, you don't realise club promotions was like manual labour back then.
It was, yeah.
And then I would, on the Monday, Tuesday, I'd be phoning 200 DJs, just one after the other. Did you get the promo? Make sure you put it in your chart. Did you play it at the weekend? And that was like proper graft. It was proper
and
promo.
And who were the DJs at the time that you were sending these records to?
Oh, I mean, it was, I guess, a lot. I'm just trying to think of, like, I mean, it would have been like your Roger Sanchez's, Murillo's, Pete Tong, obviously always such a key part of what we do. Yeah. You know, the radio DJ, I mean, like a Bobby and Steve back then were really integral with their Kiss FM shows. You know, Steve Jackson, some of the Kiss shows. Right. So we were covering radio as well.
Yeah, radio.
Yeah. But then I was dealing with a lot of your high street DJs. Like back then, the kind of high street club scene was integral to breaking a record up north in the UK, and it would be a really important factor in how you get a record heard. You need those DJs playing your records. These days, sadly, there isn't so many of those clubs, but it was a part of the ecosystem that made it really important when you were trying to break a record. And that club chart was, it's still a factor in things, but it was really important. It's much harder
now because there's so many more releases, aren't there?
So many more releases, and I guess it's a bit saturated, and there's not as many of those influential bedroom DJs, but less of those influential high street clubs that would actually be quite an important part of the bigger ecosystem of promoting a record.
Yeah, so this industry's full of people like yourself that are making the cogs work, making it all go together, and that's part of what we're trying to do with this podcast, and tell people about how everything works within the industry. There might be someone out there thinking, I'd quite like to do his job.
Yeah. There's a lot to it. There is, and I think coming to places like this where you see everyone, you realise all of these cogs that are moving every day that make the whole industry what it is. And they're, on the whole, beautiful, lovely people, and it's such a nice thing that this music has brought everyone together. And everyone has this shared value and this shared kind of respect for the culture of house music. And I think Ibiza is such a centerpiece of that. Yeah. But as far as like what we all do, God, I mean, there's so many different layers to it. But I think it's so, I feel like we're in a place where actually it's come back to the culture more than ever. And I feel like artists and DJs have to be understanding of the scene and the culture, and have to be making sure that their place in that culture is relevant. And that might be a small ecosystem in a local sense, or it might be something bigger online but still connected to the culture. And I just think that we had a moment a few years ago where you'd have this streaming kind of explosion, and tracks would just be able to get in a big playlist and boom, they'd explode. And then you had that thing where you'd have like the kind of cross section of dance and pop, which was
EDM.
Yeah, EDM and what came after that. And I think we've moved away so vastly from that, which is a good thing because it's brought it back to the culture. Even the big guys like your Calvin Harris's or whoever, they don't need a pop feature anymore to have a big record.
I think Guetta recently said that he's got two hats. He says he does the shows with his EDM-y kind of
the
stuff.
The entertainer.
And then he goes to being the club DJ as well. So he's doing
He's a prime example of someone who understands the culture, but also understands pop music and that world. And look, Jonas Blue, who I manage, has been hugely successful in the kind of cross-section of pop and dance. Now he's come back to being more rooted in house music, and that's where he came from. So he's gone full circle, and we're back. We've come out of a major label. We're back releasing with Defected, who we released with in 2008, 2009. Yeah. But it's like people are kind of like, wow, you've gone from this pop kind of leaning project into something more cultural and relevant to DJs, which is very hard. A lot of people go the other way, they build, but it's hard to kind of reverse engineer that. But that sounds like it's been orchestrated, not reverse engineered, but you know what I mean?
No, it's what he's playing, it's what he's into.
Exactly, it's what he's into, it's what's touching him musically, personally, and that's just meant that we're back in this place, which is amazing, and he's loving DJing and making music more than he ever has, and I'm loving doing what we're doing more than I ever have, and it's all rooted in proper house music.
Have you ever done a bit of DJing yourself?
Oh yeah, I had quite a past career as a DJ. So I did a radio show for BBC for 1Extra, 2001 to 2006, 5 years every week, live radio show. The only show on 1Extra, which is predominantly a black music radio station. The only show playing house music, dance music, and I was leaning, I would guess, more soulful, and had guests on the show like, you know, Louis Vega, Danny Krivit, Timmy Regisford. It was an amazing time, and at that time I was also resident for Soul Heaven, DJing every weekend.
Which is a part of the same umbrella as Defected, isn't it?
Yeah, Soul Heaven was, and that's what brought me. They're not anymore, but that was, and
Are they not anymore?
Not anymore. No,
okay, I didn't know that. He didn't sell that bit.
No, that brought me back into doing an A&R job, where I'd left the industry as kind of day job for a bit, and I was just DJing, just making music, just wanting to be an artist on that side of it. And then through DJing for Soul Heaven, Simon Dunmore, who was also a mentor of mine, brought me back into an A&R role to launch Soul Heaven Records under Defected. So I launched that label.
I've done a party with Soul Heaven.
Yeah.
I did a party at O-Beach with them.
Oh yeah, of course, with Fleur and the crew. Yeah. I think they're back there this summer. And then I was back in the Defected in an A&R role within Defected. We relaunched Strictly Rhythm, obviously an iconic label.
Yeah, no, that was one of the classic labels from back in the day.
Absolutely. So I was involved in launching Soul Heaven, relaunching Strictly Rhythm, and then I was part of the A&R team at Defected, and that was an amazing time. I was also doing the radio show for Defected when I left the BBC, straight into Defected doing the radio show for them, which was syndicated all over the world. Different show, same kind of ethos, but under the Defected banner. So I've kind of always had a little bit of both sides, but when I launched my management company in 2012 and came out of Defected, I focused very heavily on that and not really DJing as much.
You went into the management side.
Yeah, recently I've done a few sets, just dusted off the headphones. So I've been back
Still
out
got that
playing.
passion in you.
Do you know what it is as well? It's also like the passion for playing, but the passion for digging and finding tunes.
Finding tunes,
because that's such an integral part of what we need to do as managers. You've got to know the music. Yeah. You've got to know when your artist says, "Oh, what do you think about this?" You know,
a manager is not just a manager; it's someone who has to know what he's doing in that industry, you know, within the industry.
But I will say every manager usually has like one strong point that they're more skilled within. Maybe they were a promoter, maybe they were a lawyer. I was an A&R. I mean, I had a few things, but as far as business goes, it was club promo and A&R. So they're always my kind of areas that I feel more passionate about.
Dave, who works for us, same job basically as what Dave comes.
Exactly. Yeah. Shout to Dave Lambert.
Yeah, Dave Lambert, Positiva, now with us.
Yeah, great. No, Dave's great, and you know, appreciate you guys having me on here, and it was nice for him to reach out. But it's a multifaceted role, management, and I think you've got to be willing to learn. You've got to be willing to really dig into these different aspects of the business, because you have to have an understanding of all of it.
Yeah.
But then you might want to pick one area where you really want to learn more. And that might be, okay, you're really into events and clubs. So, okay, learn about what promoting an event's all about, because that feeds into
There's so many branches off the industry, isn't there? You can go a lot of different ways, can't you?
So many branches.
So we do ask a few questions, and they are relevant to you.
I would say, in terms of Ibiza, because obviously you're a music manager, and on this island, have you ever gone to a venue and thought, wow, who is this person playing? Like, have I not heard of this person? Or have you had any of those moments that you're...
Yeah, I definitely have. I'm trying to think. I mean, I've got I'd never seen him DJ actually, and it was John Digweed, and he was playing at Space before Space closed, and that was one of my nights where I'd never seen him play. I was on my own, And sometimes the best times are on your own, on the dance floor. Wasn't worrying about what anyone else was doing or where they were. So
He's a proper DJ, isn't he?
Proper DJ. John D. Weed at Space was one for me. And then just some amazing times at different clubs over the years. Pasha, I guess, the history of, because when I was at Defected, we were at Pasha. And I would DJ at Pasha Defected, and I'd be there not most days in the summer, but like a lot of the dates during the summer. So great times there. And then Bora Bora, which was obviously legendary for those daytime parties.
Yeah, not my favourite place, but but Pacha, it's called Pacha. But Pacha, I was there for 5 years. So
right, wow.
In the early days. So yeah, for me in my era, when Coup was open air,
I would have loved to have seen it.
It was the best club in the world. But then when it got a roof put on it and then changed hands, it turned slightly different.
Right, yeah.
And for quite a few years there, Pacha was the best club in the world.
For sure, no doubt
about that. And it held that crown for quite a long time.
Absolutely, and my dear friend Graham Sahara, resident of the Funky Room.
We did him this morning.
Yeah, no, he told me, and I think just Vaughan and the Funky Room and that whole, I spent a lot of time in the Funky Room, I got to be honest. Funky Room and the Terrace were probably my favourite places to be.
Yeah. Do you see Vaughan up in the town now? Have you been up?
Yeah, I have, yeah, he's doing great. Yeah, no, he's doing great. And Graham's a dear friend of mine, has been for, knocking on 25 years.
When I first met Vaughan, he was a dancer in Pasha, amazing, on a podium.
Amazing.
Like a crazy witch doctor kind of funky dancer.
I can imagine.
And there weren't no Funky Room then, he was a dancer.
Gotcha, right.
And that's how he started, and that's we met. Both people from England met in Ibiza.
Incredible.
In
and Ibiza does that. It pulls people together who are like-minded and have shared values.
Mates ever since. I mean, there's lots of people like that on this island.
Of course there is.
Vaughan particularly sticks out.
Oh, he does. If you talk about Ibiza characters, for me, he's definitely one of the ones that I remember very well. Kick people off the decks in the Funky Room. If it wasn't right, you're off.
So we can ask you a couple of other questions as well. Who's your favourite DJ?
Tony Humphries.
Tony Humphries. First person to say him. But we're not far in.
Changed my perception of music and made me fall in love with house music even more at a time when it was just a life-changing set at Southport Weekender around mid-90s, and it was just I was just blown away.
You changed your view on it?
Yeah, because I came up through drum and bass, jungle, rave scene. I was DJing when I was 13 on pirate radio, and it was jungle, drum and bass, and when you're in that tunnel vision. And then in mid-90s started to get into house, and then there were a couple of my friends who were really like schooling me on house, and Tony was like, we'd listen to his tapes from Hot 97, the way he programmed records together, and then when I saw him live at Southport Weekender, it was just like, and that was probably a pivotal moment. And then as far as like producers, it was really Masters at Work.
Okay.
And their music.
It's quite brilliant.
Yeah, their music changed my kind of, path in life, in music. It really did.
Yeah.
And I've been lucky enough to work with Kenny Dope recently, which is, incredible.
Yeah, in terms of tracks over the years, obviously you've had a huge collection.
Sure.
What would you say your most favourite tracks are?
I'm going to give you three Ibiza. I'll focus it on, because I have such strong, powerful, as we all do, memories of being here, hearing certain tracks. And I think G Club, Guitar G, which is a arc, that sums up an Ibiza tune for me. And that obviously ties into the Defected kind of period for me, even though I think I started after that one had come out, but it just remains such a key part of the kind of Defected Ibiza sound. Mojo Lady, which I think I still hear that now, and it's just like, it just reminds me of being here 2001, and that year for me was still relevant, absolutely. I think Laurent Garnier, Man with the Red Face, I think it's got to be up there.
He was a great DJ. He was.
Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't heard much about him lately, but I did have Laurent Garnier once in Privilege and Daft Punk on the same night.
Oh, wow. What a night that would have been.
It was the busiest night I've ever had in there.
Amazing.
We were put together, funny enough. It was a night where we had, I had Terry Farley, I had Rocky and Diesel, I had John Marsh from The Beloved.
Yeah, I know John.
They were my DJs. And Brasilio said, you've got to share the night with the French lot. I mean, I've never shared a night in my life. What do you mean share a night? And anyway, so I said, what do you mean shout? I mean, what, DJs as well? And he went, yeah.
And it was Laurent Garnier and Daft Punk.
And that's who it was playing. I said, I'm happy with that. Now I'm happy. There's Daft Punk and Laurent Garnier. So we had this real mixture of people that night as well. 10,000 people, full to the brim. Fantastic music all night long.
Amazing. What a night that sounds like.
Yeah, and I think it was 96 in Privilege.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
That would have been the year I was really just properly getting into house music, I'd say, for me.
It was towards the end of mine. I did Privilege in 97 as well. Wow. I came back and did a little bit in the early 2000s, but yeah, we got plans with this.
Bring it back. Love it. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, who are your biggest influences?
I mean, I'd like to just mention, I know I mentioned them earlier, but a couple of people who've mentored me over the years, and I think it's so important for young people who want to get into the industry, if you can find that person who can mentor you, who can help give you advice. I mean, in my instance, they were people that I was working with, but Caroline Prothero, who was just integral to me getting my first foot in the door in the music industry, working for Virgin Records, working with her. She fought for me to be made permanent. I was a temp work experience, and she's fought for me to be made a permanent staff member back in 97. So she would, without her I wouldn't have been on this path. And then Simon Dunmore, who I'm still very close with today.
I mean, Simon's come out of the soul scene, hasn't he? And the jazz funk, and
he's an old soul boy.
Back in the day,
he's an old soul boy.
Yeah, he's an old soul boy. Yeah.
But he also mentored me and taught me a lot about how to A&R and how to get the best records out of artists and how to operate in this business and how to have integrity. And it always, just have belief in what you do. And
I once said no one will ever do what I did out here, because at one point I was doing 5 parties a week, every week, at all the clubs. Because now they get contracted to that club. They can't.
Of course they do.
And I often said that no one's going to be able to do what I did because of that reason.
Yeah.
And Simon, in an indirect way, did do that.
Yeah.
He did it with the Defected Glitterbox and Soul Heaven.
Very true. Very true.
So he's the only other one that's got anywhere near what I did.
Yeah,
so
multiple brands. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then I guess there's just DJs who've been. Obviously, I mentioned Tony Humphries, Masters at Work, Roger Sanchez. Like, these are people who I've been around these people for 25 years, and I think that they've, in their own way, been important to me on my path. Sandy Rivera, as I mentioned. They've had faith in me to work with them and to be part of their business. They've inspired me musically, and someone like Louis Vega, who's just like...
Well, he's a proper legend, isn't he?
Proper legend, but he's also like such a hard worker. Like, Louis will relentlessly ensure that everyone knows what's going on with Louis Vega.
He's good at the press. He's great in the studio. He's a multi-skilled.
Yeah, and when you see how he operates, you realise that that's why it works at the level it does for him, because he just is relentless in a very kind of soulful, creative way, and I think it's a really, people should look at someone like him, because you have to be
a good role model.
He's a good role model.
He's consistent, isn't he?
Very consistent. Very consistent musically. Very consistent with his passions. For someone who's from the previous generation, he's adopted social media. Does social media better than a lot of the kids. I mean, he's just non-stop. But you cannot turn on your Instagram without seeing a post from Louis Vega.
Do you find in the industry that people sort of do this? They have like a peak and then they kind of pitter out a little bit.
Yeah, some people do. Some people
do.
He's
been around forever, though. He's always around there,
I think Louis is a prime example of someone who's just managed to maintain.
Right.
Never took his foot off the gas. Never got complacent. And I think that there's something to be said for that. You never know people's scenarios and why they might have a slower year. But Roger Sanchez, he's having an incredible moment back at Pasha. Roger's like proven that maybe his thing wasn't maybe as consistent as Louis. It's been up and down a bit, but he's bigger than ever. Yeah. One of the best DJs to grace the decks in Ibiza, Roger Sanchez.
Brilliant. So it's been nice talking to you, Aaron. I'm actually going to do something I wasn't going to do. I'm going to give you an award, but I'm not going to give you an Ibiza award. I'm going to give you a Global Club and Dance award because the things that you guys do is so important to this industry that you deserve for the whole thing you've done.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So you're one of the first to get one of these as well.
Amazing.
Well done, young man.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate the young man too. I wish I was still young. Well, look at that. Amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you having me on. Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Global Club and Dance Hall of Fame.
We will be taking around the rest of the world.
So that's all for today's special edition on Ibiza Hall of Fame. Remember to like, subscribe, and to follow us on all of our platforms. See you soon.